Alara stood at the edge of the observation deck, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. She could see distant planets twinkling like tiny jewels, their light bouncing off the polished metal of the alien ship. The air hummed softly with energy, a vibration that made her fingertips tingle. It was her first time on an alien vessel, and the nervous excitement in her chest was almost unbearable. Her uniform felt stiff, but she straightened her back and reminded herself why she was here. She was a human ambassador, chosen to meet the leader of a species that had fascinated scientists and explorers for decades. For years, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now, standing in front of an alien capital ship, Alara realized that question had finally been answered. The doors at the far end of the deck hissed open, and all conversation seemed to fade into silence. Every eye, human and alien alike, turned to see the arrival of the Queen. She moved with a grace that was almost impossible to describe. Her suit was sleek and metallic, reflecting the starlight in patterns that shifted with every step. The helmet, perfectly polished and opaque, concealed her face entirely, leaving her expression and her intentions a complete mystery. Alara swallowed hard, feeling a mixture of awe and fear. Every story she had read about alien encounters warned of misunderstandings, cultural mistakes, and even hostility. But the Queen did not seem hostile. There was a calm authority in her posture, a quiet confidence that commanded respect without demanding it. Stepping forward, Alara's voice wavered slightly as she said, "Your ship. It's beautiful. The design, the light patterns. It's unlike anything I've ever seen." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, unexpectedly, the Queen laughed. It was a soft, melodic sound that seemed to ripple through the air, like wind chimes dancing in a gentle breeze. Alara felt her tension ease immediately. This laughter, it was warm, not threatening, and it made the Queen seem human, in a way she could relate to. "You humans always notice the smallest details," the Queen said, her voice amplified through the ship's systems. "It is amusing, but your words are appreciated." Alara nodded, trying to hide how relieved she felt. She stepped a little closer, studying the intricate design of the Queen's suit. It seemed alive, shifting and flowing in a way that suggested energy rather than fabric or metal. "It's amazing how your people work together," she said carefully. "Even this ship, it feels like every part has a purpose. Every movement is considered. It's harmonious." The Queen paused, tilting her head slightly. There was curiosity in the gesture, a subtle acknowledgement that Alara's words held meaning. "Harmony," she repeated slowly. "A word humans use lightly. We see it as essential. We see it as life itself." "You notice," Alara smiled nervously. "I try to. I think humans, we admire things that take care and thought. I can see that here. In your people, and in your ship." Another laugh. This time, it was lighter, almost playful. The Queen stopped moving and gestured with a hand, inviting Alara to follow her deeper into the observation deck. The floor beneath them was smooth, reflecting the soft lights embedded in the walls. Each light pulsed gently, as if responding to the Queen's presence, creating a rhythm that felt alive. As they walked, Alara noticed alien figures moving gracefully around them. Their bodies were long and slender, their movements fluid and precise. They did not speak in words but communicated in glowing pulses of color that danced across their skin and suits. Alara tried to focus on the patterns, but it was too fast, too complex. She realized that her human brain was not yet trained to fully understand this form of communication. Yet, there was a sense of warmth, of welcome, in their gestures. The Queen stopped in front of a wide viewport, showing the galaxy beyond. "You look out at the stars and wonder," she said. "Why are we here? Why do we reach? Humans, you reach too. Your kind is small, yet curious. Perhaps it is your curiosity that keeps you alive." Alara felt a shiver run down her spine. The Queen's words were simple, yet they carried weight. She nodded, trying to convey respect. Yes. We want to learn. We want to understand. And maybe one day, we can share what we know with others. The queen tilted her head, as if considering the statement. Then she spoke again, more softly this time. Understanding. It is the beginning of connection. Many fail. Many fear. You are different. You do not fear yet. Alara's heart raced. She had trained for this moment for years, but nothing could prepare her for the gravity of standing before an alien ruler who could see beyond appearances. She realized that this meeting was more than a diplomatic gesture. It was a test, subtle but profound, of her human qualities: curiosity, empathy, and courage. You humans are fragile, the queen said after a pause. And yet, you endure. You adapt. Perhaps that is why you are still here, still reaching. Tell me, why do you wish to see the stars? Alara considered the question carefully. It was more than a scientific curiosity. Because we wonder. Because we want to know if we are alone. And because there is beauty in discovery, in understanding others, in finding connections we did not think were possible. The queen's helmeted head tilted once again. Then, to Alara's astonishment, she extended a hand, palm open, in a gesture of invitation. Then come, see what you may, learn what you may, and perhaps, laugh with me again. Alara stepped forward, her feet feeling light despite the strange hum of energy beneath her. She realized that this was the first true bridge between humans and this alien civilization. One small compliment, one genuine word, had opened a door, and as she reached out to follow the queen, she felt a spark of hope, a spark that humans and aliens might not only understand each other, but admire each other, too. As they moved deeper into the ship, Alara noticed the details she had not seen at first glance. Walls that seemed to breathe with soft light, floor panels that shifted gently underfoot, and strange floating orbs that emitted music in a way that seemed almost alive. Every detail reinforced her impression that this was a society that valued harmony, beauty, and intelligence above all else. Your people, they create such wonder, Alara said softly. It's unlike anything I've ever imagined. The queen paused and looked down at her. And though her face remained hidden, the body language conveyed something profound. Approval, curiosity, and perhaps a hint of amusement. And you notice, that is rare, that is important. For a moment, silence settled between them, comfortable rather than awkward. Alara felt a surge of confidence. She had come here to represent humanity, to show that humans were worthy of friendship, trust, and understanding. And now, standing in front of the alien queen, she realized that perhaps humans had something to offer the galaxy, beyond technology or power. Perhaps it was their ability to appreciate, to feel, and to connect. A soft chime echoed through the hall. The queen's attention shifted, and she turned toward a side corridor. There is more to see, she said. The heart of our culture, our thinking, our creation. Come, observe, understand. Alara followed, trying not to stumble on her words or her steps. Every part of the ship seemed designed to evoke wonder, to encourage reflection and awe. And through it all, the queen remained a guide, a presence that was commanding yet gentle, mysterious yet welcoming. Finally, they arrived at a large chamber. Light danced across its surfaces in patterns that seemed to tell stories. Energy flowed through the room like a river, responding to the presence of the queen and, slowly, to Alara herself. It was a living space, alive in ways humans had only imagined in fiction. You see, the queen said, gesturing to the flowing patterns. Our world is not only outside, in the stars, but inside. In our thinking, our creation, our connection to all things. You humans, you can see this. You notice harmony where others might see only function. Alara nodded, heart full of wonder. It's beautiful, she whispered. The queen laughed again, softly, warmly, and Alara realized that this sound, so simple and pure, had already begun to build a bridge, one that might span the distance between their species, their worlds, and perhaps even their hearts. For the first time in her life, Alara felt that human curiosity, respect, and genuine admiration were not just traits, they were gifts, powerful in ways humans had yet to understand. And as she looked at the tall, helmeted figure before her, she dared to imagine a future where humans and aliens could learn from each other, laugh with each other, and explore the infinite universe together. Alara's footsteps echoed softly as she followed the alien queen deeper into the ship. The walls shimmered with light that seemed almost alive, flowing like liquid silver around them. She could feel the hum of energy beneath her feet and in the air around her, as if the ship itself was aware of their presence. Every glance she stole at the alien figures moving gracefully about made her feel like she had stepped into a living painting. The queen moved with an elegance that made Alara feel both small and honored at the same time. She could sense the intelligence radiating from the queen, an energy that was calm, precise, and infinitely curious. Yet, there was also warmth, a subtle invitation to see, learn, and connect. At last, they entered a vast chamber. It was unlike anything Alara had ever seen. The room seemed to stretch on forever, with walls that shifted their shape slowly, forming patterns that looked like glowing rivers of color. Floating orbs hovered in the air, each emitting soft sounds that blended into a melody that felt alive. The queen gestured to the room. "Here is our heart," she said. "This is where our people create, learn, and understand. Observe carefully. Human. Do not rush." Alara took a careful step forward, letting her eyes drink in the beauty. The orbs seemed to respond to her presence, their soft glow pulsing as if recognizing her. The flowing walls made her feel calm and inspired all at once. Every detail seemed intentional, yet full of life. Nothing here was forced. Nothing felt empty. "Your culture. It's unlike anything humans have," Alara whispered. "Even the way you create. It feels alive, almost like it's breathing." The queen tilted her head, helmeted face turning toward Alara. "We believe that creation is life. It is not enough to build or to craft without feeling, without thought, without care. Humans, you sometimes miss this. You rush, you compete, yet you also see beauty when it is there. That is rare." Alara smiled nervously, feeling honored by the compliment. "We try. We do notice. Maybe because we need to. Perhaps because it reminds us that there is more than survival. There is connection, understanding, and joy." A soft ripple of color pulsed across the queen's suit. Alara had learned that it was a form of alien expression, something akin to smiling, nodding, and speaking all at once. "Yes," the queen said. "Joy, connection. These are the beginnings of understanding. You notice, and you speak with honesty. That is valuable." The queen then led Alara toward a platform in the center of the chamber. On it was a strange puzzle, a three-dimensional structure that shifted and moved in response to thoughts and gestures. "This is a test," the queen said, her voice calm. "Not a test of strength or skill, but of thought, imagination, and connection. Solve it with me, if you can. Or at least, understand it." Alara approached cautiously. The structure was mesmerizing. Interlocking pieces of light and energy, constantly shifting in complex patterns. Her human mind tried to predict the movement, but the pieces seemed to think for themselves. Yet, she realized that if she watched carefully, if she moved gently, she could guide them, and perhaps they would guide her in return. The queen extended a hand toward the structure. "Focus. Do not think only with your mind. Think with your awareness. Feel it." Alara closed her eyes briefly, taking a deep breath. She let her instincts guide her fingers as she touched the flowing energy. Slowly, a part of the puzzle aligned with her movements, responding to her intention rather than force. She felt the queen's presence beside her, subtle but undeniable, guiding and encouraging. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time felt different in this chamber. Finally, with a careful motion, a section of the puzzle clicked into place. A glowing pathway of light expanded from the structure, filling the room with soft radiance. Alara opened her eyes and saw the queen's posture shift slightly, a gesture of approval, maybe even pride. "You understand," the queen said simply. "Not the pieces, not the structure. You understand connection. That is what matters. Humans, you are adaptable. You are patient. You are remarkable." Ilara's chest swelled with pride, though she kept her words humble. "Thank you. I only tried to observe, to learn. That is all." The queen laughed again, soft and musical. "And that is enough. Often, that is all that is needed to create harmony. Observe, learn, connect. Many of my people forget this. You..." Alara noticed other alien figures approaching, their glowing forms curious but respectful. They began to communicate through colors and pulses, sharing subtle messages that she couldn't fully understand yet, but she could sense warmth, recognition, and admiration in their gestures. For the first time, she felt that humans could be seen not as primitive, but as capable of connection, understanding, and collaboration. The queen then led her to another area, a garden unlike anything on Earth. Plants with translucent leaves glowed softly, their colors shifting as if responding to touch and sound. Streams of liquid light flowed along the ground, reflecting and amplifying the plant's natural energy. Alara knelt to examine a flower, its petals spreading in response to her presence. "Your people would call this bioluminescent," the queen said. "We call it conversation. Life speaks if you listen. Humans, do you listen?" Alara touched the flower gently. "I try. I think humans sometimes forget to stop and really notice. To listen. But this is incredible. It feels alive. In a way I can understand." The queen's head tilted, and she extended a finger toward the plant. A small pulse of light spread from her touch, intertwining with Alara's, creating patterns that neither fully controlled. "You share energy," she said. "Humans. Your hands are clumsy. Yet, your intention is clear. That is what matters. That is what connection is." Alara smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. It was a simple gesture, but the queen had made her feel seen not as a human, but as a being capable of understanding, appreciation, and wonder. They walked further into the garden, passing bridges of light and waterfalls of soft energy. "Your people often think the universe is something to conquer," the queen said. "You build machines, you fight, you race, yet you forget the beauty that exists everywhere. Humans, you also see beauty. That is why you endure." Alara nodded. We want to learn, to explore. But I think humans are also emotional creatures. Curious. We admire things we don't fully understand. And maybe that is our greatest strength." 45. A ripple of light traveled along the queen's suit again. Perhaps you are right. That is why you are here. That is why we meet. Not to test strength, not to conquer or compete, but to learn, to see, to share. For the next hour, they explored the garden together. The queen showed her alien art forms, moving light sculptures, melodies formed from thought alone, and floating constructs that responded to feeling rather than commands. Alara touched, observed, and asked questions. And each time the queen responded, not with condescension, but with patience and wonder. At one point, they reached a large pool of liquid light. The queen gestured for Alara to step closer. "Here, you may feel our thoughts," she said. "Not in words, not in images, only in feeling. Listen. Ilara knelt by the edge, dipping her hand into the glowing liquid. At first, it was warm, almost like sunlight. Then, a gentle wave of understanding washed over her, not images, not language, but emotion, intention, and connection. She could sense the curiosity of the alien people, their care for one another, and the intricate balance they maintained with their environment. And among it all, she felt the Queen's own presence, strong, intelligent, and kind. She withdrew her hand, breathless. It's beautiful. I can feel everything. Your people, your world. It's amazing. The Queen's head tilted again, a gesture that now felt like a smile. Humans, you can feel. You can notice. You can connect. That is why you are worthy. Not your machines. Not your weapons. Your hearts, your minds, your willingness to see beyond self. That is why you endure. Ilara felt tears prick her eyes. She had never been praised like this before, not for achievement, but for observation, understanding, and empathy. And in this strange, radiant garden on a distant alien ship, she realized something incredible. Humans had something unique to offer the universe, something the aliens valued as much as the most advanced technology or energy systems. The Queen laughed softly, a sound that seemed to blend with the glowing garden. You humans, you may yet surprise us all. Come. There is still more to see. Ilara followed, her heart lighter than it had ever been. She knew this journey was only beginning, but already, she felt that humans and aliens could find a bridge built not on force, but on respect, curiosity, and shared wonder. And as the Queen guided her through the garden of living light, Ilara understood that a single compliment, a single moment of honesty and admiration, had begun to open the door to something extraordinary, a bridge of understanding that could connect not just two species, but perhaps, one day, the entire universe. Ilara followed the alien Queen down a gently curving corridor that seemed to glow from within. The walls shimmered like liquid crystal, and soft patterns of light danced around them, responding to their movements. Every step felt like walking through a living dream. For hours, they had explored the heart of the alien ship, its gardens, its art, its living energy systems, and Ilara felt a growing sense of awe and connection. The Queen moved with calm certainty, guiding her through spaces that seemed designed not only for work or living but for learning, observing, and feeling. Ilara had already learned so much about the aliens, their culture, their philosophy, and their extraordinary ability to connect mind, heart, and environment. But something told her that the most important revelation had yet to come. At the end of the corridor, they arrived at a wide chamber. It was circular, with a high ceiling that reflected the stars from the viewport above. A soft, ambient light filled the room, giving it an almost sacred atmosphere. Floating platforms rose gently from the floor, carrying shimmering displays of alien knowledge, floating holograms, flowing lines of light, and patterns that moved in response to thought rather than touch. The Queen paused in the center of the room. "This is where understanding becomes visible," she said. Her voice echoed softly, amplified but warm. "This is where we reveal ourselves, not just our minds, but our essence. Humans, you have seen much already. But now, it is time for you to see me fully." Ilara's heart raced. She had known this moment might come, yet she could not have prepared for the intensity of anticipation. She stood still, trying to steady her breathing, reminding herself that she had earned this trust through honesty, curiosity, and admiration. The Queen slowly raised her hands to her helmet. The motion was deliberate, careful, and filled with an unspoken message of trust. Ilara felt the weight of the moment. It was more than a gesture. It was an invitation. And then, very slowly, the helmet began to lift. Ilara's eyes widened. What she saw was unlike anything she had imagined. The Queen's face was partially translucent, with subtle, shifting patterns of color that flowed across her skin like living light. Her eyes glowed softly, intelligent and deep. radiating curiosity and kindness. There was a symmetry to her features that felt familiar and alien at the same time. A delicate blend of geometry and softness that made her almost ethereal. Ilara's first reaction was a mixture of awe and disbelief. She could hardly breathe, afraid that any movement might shatter the fragile trust of the moment. But the queen smiled through gesture, through color patterns, through the gentle pulse of energy that surrounded her, and Ilara understood that this smile was for her, acknowledging her courage, her curiosity, and her admiration. "You see," the queen said softly, "we are not so different as you thought. We think, we feel, we wonder, we connect. And you can understand. That is why you are here." Ilara stepped forward, her voice barely a whisper. "You're incredible. Not just your appearance. Everything about you. The way you think, the way your people live, the way you see the universe. It's inspiring." A ripple of light traveled across the queen's body. A sign of approval. "Inspiring," she repeated, testing the word on her lips, or, rather, letting it resonate through thought. "Perhaps we can inspire each other. Perhaps humans can learn as much from us as we can from you." Ilara's heart lifted. "I think we already are. I already feel that humans have something unique to offer. We can adapt, create, and understand in ways that maybe your people have not considered. And we can admire, truly admire, without fear, without competition. That is what brought me here today." The queen's head tilted slightly. Admiration, appreciation, connection. These are powerful forces, often overlooked. But you understand them. That is why this moment matters. Humans, you are capable of greatness, not just in your technology, but in your spirit. That is why you endure. Ilara felt a surge of emotion she had never experienced before. It was pride. Yes, but more than that. It was hope. Hope that humans, despite their flaws, could be recognized as worthy partners in the vast universe. Hope that curiosity, kindness, and openness could build bridges between species. And hope that the queen's gesture of trust was a sign of the possibilities that lay ahead. The queen stepped closer, her movements fluid and deliberate. She extended a hand toward Ilara. "Human, take this, not as a gift of power, but as a gift of trust. Let it remind you of what you have seen, what you have felt, and what you are capable of sharing." Ilara reached out slowly, trembling slightly, and placed her hand in the queen's. A wave of energy flowed through them both, not overwhelming, not controlling, but gentle, connecting them in understanding and intention. She could feel the intelligence, the care, and the depth of the queen's presence, and it made her heart expand with a sense of unity she had never known before. "You humans, you surprise us," the queen said softly. "Not with strength, not with tools, but with your ability to see, to feel, to connect. That is what makes you remarkable. That is why alliances can be formed. That is why trust can exist." Ilara nodded, her eyes shining. I understand. And I hope we can continue this. Not just for us, but for both our species. To learn, to share, to explore together." The queen's head tilted again, the gesture radiating approval and satisfaction. "Then let this be the beginning. Not of conquest, not of dominance, but of understanding. Let humans and our people share knowledge, explore the stars, and discover together. Let us laugh. Let us learn. Let us connect." Ilara felt a smile spread across her face, a smile full of relief, wonder, and determination. "Yes," she said. "We can do that. We must do that. Together." For a moment, they stood in silence, hands almost touching, gazing out at the stars beyond the viewport. Ilara thought of Earth, of the people who had trained her for this moment, of all the dreams and fears that had led her here. And now, in this alien chamber, she realized that humans had a place in the universe not as conquerors, but as observers, learners, and collaborators. The Queen then moved toward one of the floating platforms, where a display of the galaxy shimmered in soft light. "Look," she said, "every star, every planet, every civilization has potential. Potential for growth, for understanding, for connection. Humans, your kind may yet become one of the lights that guide others toward knowledge and harmony." Alara leaned closer, fascinated by the intricate patterns of energy that represented countless civilizations. We want to learn, and we want to share. That is all we have to offer. But maybe that is enough. The Queen turned to her, the colors of her skin flowing softly like a river of light. Enough? Humans, what you offer is more than enough. Curiosity, empathy, courage, admiration, these are forces that can change worlds. Your presence here, your honesty, your openness, it has already begun to create change. Alara felt a warmth spread through her chest. It was a feeling of recognition not just for her, but for all of humanity. For the first time, she truly believed that humans were seen, understood, and appreciated by a species far more advanced in many ways. And that belief gave her strength. "Thank you," she whispered, "for trusting me, for showing me this, for letting humans be part of something bigger than ourselves." The Queen's rippling colors shimmered brighter, almost like laughter in light form. "You have given us something too," she said, "a reminder that connection matters, that admiration matters, that even the smallest gestures, honest words, genuine compliments, can build bridges that reach across the stars." Alara's smile widened. "Then let's keep building those bridges, together." The Queen's hand slowly lowered, but the connection between them remained. Alara realized that this moment would not be forgotten, not by her, and not by the Queen. They had shared understanding, admiration, and trust. And in doing so, they had begun something extraordinary. A partnership that could span species, planets, and even galaxies. As they stood there, bathed in the glow of the chamber and the stars beyond, Alara felt a deep sense of hope. Humans and aliens could be allies, not rivals. They could share knowledge, celebrate wonder, and explore the universe side by side. And it had all begun with one simple act. A compliment, honest and heartfelt, that bridged the gap between fear and trust. The Queen finally spoke, her voice calm and resonant. "Human, you have proven that your kind is capable of connection, understanding, and greatness. Let this be remembered. Let this moment guide the future. And let us move forward, together." Alara nodded, her heart full. "Together," she echoed. The two stood side by side, looking out at the galaxy. Alara felt that humans were not just observers of the universe, they were participants. They could create, connect, and inspire, and with the alien Queen's trust and guidance, perhaps they could become one of the lights in the vast, endless darkness of space. And as the stars sparkled beyond the viewport, Alara knew that this was only the beginning of an extraordinary journey, one where humans and aliens would explore, learn, and laugh together, building bridges of understanding that could last across time and space.